Alright, hi guys, this is Jace Horn. Just wanted to make another video here, and I've had a couple people have asked. I did an exploration video in scanning, and somebody had asked if I could do a combat scanning video. So I am going to do my best to try and break down some of the basics of combat scanning and just some of the pieces that I know that go along with that. Again, this is not going to be comprehensive everything involved, but I am going to try and do my best to handle that. So a couple of basic things. So if you recall from the scanning video and the exploration videos I did, I basically went over the ships that were bonused for scanning. Now you want to basically use those same type of ships if you're doing combat scanning, but there's a few things that you need to keep in mind as to what you're combat scanning for. First of those is, are you just looking for things like mobile tractor units, mobile depots, or lost drones, or are you trying to find ships and that you can get a warp in on for a fleet and you can get tackle? And that will really kind of decide what you're doing. If you're just doing some basic, just grab something and, just trying to find like a structure or something and scan that down, you can definitely get away with just doing like an exploration frigate. Would be my recommendation. So again, you have the Heron for the Caldari, the Amicus for the Gallente, the Probe for the Minmatar, and the Amarr have the Magnate. Any one of those would be fine. The only thing with this is you will not be able to use a standard launcher. So if I pull up my fitting window here, and we'll take a look at my ship that's fit, you'll notice that I have an expanded probe launcher 1. Now a couple of things to keep in mind is you have your normal core probe launcher that you would use for exploration, and let's just look at the difference here. The biggest thing that you're going to notice that is a huge deal is if you look at the fitting for this, it requires 15 TF of CPU and 1 MW of power grid, but if we look at the expanded probe launcher, it requires 220 TF of CPU and same one for power grid. So you'll notice that's a huge difference. And if you look at my ship, I only have a total of 334, and that is also with me having a specific rig on here that expands that. So if I didn't have that rig, I wouldn't be able to fit anything. So when you look at the T1 frigates, you're going to have a hard time fitting much on your ship. So in my case, this is something you could use to do scanning for potentially a fleet, but the problem is the EHP is 2964, and that I tried to go with the whole tanking it because I couldn't really think of a way to get armor in there with the limits that I have. So if anyone has a better fit, I'd love to hear it, but this is what I have right now. So basically with this, the nice thing about this is it's super cheap. And so you'll see here it has 5.7 million is the total cost of everything you need for the ship. So it's very inexpensive. You can throw it away. If it gets blown up, it's not a big deal. If you can get a tackle on a $500 million ship for your fleet to kill, then hey, that's a $5 million ship for a $500 million ship is a great trade. Now, the thing that you'll notice that's a big difference is I look here at the base sensor strength. If you remember from my other videos, with my character with very low skills, his probe strength was, I think, around 77. You'll notice here the base strength is 41, and this is my character with high skills. And so the biggest thing is the combat scanner probes are not as accurate as your regular probes. And so if we look here, you'll see with the core probe scanners and the attributes, the base scan range and base scan point. So 40 is the strength, 0.25 AU, and this is basically how small of an area your probes can scan, like how tight you can get them, which is important. So look at that. So keep that in mind, is 0.25 and 40. Then if we go look at our combat scanner probes, we're going to see that the base scan range is 0.5, so they cannot go as tight. They can only go to 0.5, and the base sensor strength is 20. So it's basically half the strength of a regular probe. And so what that means is it's actually going to be harder to scan certain things down. Now, ships are not as hard to scan down as anomalies and things are, depending on what you're trying to scan. So just keep that in mind, as you are going to have basically half the scan strength as you would with a normal ship, which means it's really difficult to do combat scanning, depending on what you're scanning for, if you're in an unbonused ship. So just keep that in mind. Technically, you can put a combat scanner on anything. You could I would say cruiser and above is going to be easier just because you'll have more room to work with. But you can put it on technically any ship that'll fit it. It's just when you have unbonused skills, you're going to struggle a lot potentially with trying to get things scanned down. So if you can, you want to try and use ships that are bonused for combat scanning, which is what I'm going to do today. Now, basically, when you're looking at how to scan down a ship or how easy or hard it is, what you're going to be looking for, let's find this here, is the signature radius right here. Where you see on this is it's 41 meters is the signature radius of my Imicus. Now we're going to go completely up the other side of the scale to battleships, and we'll just grab one of these and we'll see if the base sensor. Alright, so let's go through here. Signature radius 410. So you can see the difference between 41 and 410. So the way the scanning works is it's based on the signature radius. And the bigger the signature radius, the easier it's going to be to scan something down. So if you're trying to scan down like a frigate, you're going to have a hard time scanning that down if you don't have good skills. On the flip side, if you're trying to scan something down like a battleship, and now keep in mind when you add shield extenders to a ship, that increases your signature radius. If you have a micro warp drive running, that also increases signature radius of your ship. All of those things will make it easier for your ship to be scanned down. So it's highly possible you may have a ship that has a signature radius of 600 to 800. And that's going to be a ship that's going to be very easy to scan down. Now, there are also some different modules that you can put in. I believe it is the remote ECCM, but it is, let me see, what was it with the sensor booster? Yeah, ECCM script. So if you have that in, it should actually drop down your signature radius, make it harder to target you, if I recall correctly. Let's look really quick. Yeah. Used with. Yep. Scan resolution, sensor strength bonus. Okay, so I don't know if this still does. It used to be that this actually affected your signature radius. I'm not seeing that now, so that may have changed. So don't quote me on that if that is incorrect. But basically, this is the ship that we're going to work with. So we're going to work with 3 different ships. We're going to do one Gallente, one Caldari, and one Amarr. So the first one I'm going to show is the Imicus. The second one is going to be the T3 destroyers, which are not bonused for scanning, but they do have a very helpful thing, which is in their traits, they have a roll bonus, which, let me find it here. 95% reduction in scan probe launcher and survey probe launcher CPU requirement. So if you recall that 220, so basically that's going to be reduced by 95%, so which allows you to fit it without basically handicapping the ship. So T3 destroyers you'll see a lot of times used as combat scanning because they're fairly tough, they can still tackle things, you can fit more on it, and you can fit the probe launcher without having it take your ship apart. Now, the thing to keep in mind, there's no bonus to scan probe strength, so you're going to have a lesser strength. So for example, where I'm at, I believe, let me just get this set up here. Okay, where I'm at 45 with my Imicus, with my ship, my other one that I'm going to be using, my Confessor, I'm going to be at a 35. And that's actually, I went from using a Scan Probe Launcher 1 to an expanded Probe Launcher 2. I used the same Sisters Core Combat Scanner probes, and I lost about 10 points. So that's just, again, the difference between bonused versus unbonused. Now, the difference here is we're looking at, right, a ship with 18,000 EHP versus 2,000. So obviously you're going to be able to do better. You're going to be able to do more with this ship than you would with the Imicus. But it's just something to keep in mind, is that the difference is going to be with the bonus ships are going to be easier to scan things than the ones that are not bonused for scanning. So you can go with the covert ops, but the problem with the covert ops ships is they have such low fitting that it's almost better to go with a T1 ship over a covert ops, because the only thing you would really gain is you would gain the ability to warp while cloaked, which I would say at that point you should just use a T3 cruiser, which I will showcase that as well, which is going to give you potentially your best bonuses, as well as your ability to have a pretty solid ship, solid tank, and still gain the scan bonuses that you would need. So let's go ahead and undock. Also, another thing, if you're combat scanning for ships, I would always use the Sisters Core Combat Probes. And again, it's just part of it's just the difference between the, so right here we had a base of 20 sensor strength for the combat scanner probes. And if we look at the Sisters Core Combat Scanner probes, you have 22. So it's 10% better. It's not, again, not a huge difference, but it is at least something. And when you're trying to combat scan, you want to go with everything you can get. So we're going to go ahead and undock. So a couple of things that you want to keep in mind when you are combat scanning is, the first thing is you want to put your combat probes out as late as you possibly can. The reason being is, if anyone is smart and they're watching their directional scan, as soon as they see combat probes, they're going to get out of there as quickly as possible. So that is just something that you would want to keep in mind. Okay, so right now we are in the middle of the system, and we're going to go ahead and throw out our D-scan. So you can see here right now all of these ships. So you would want to do a couple things. One, on your probe scanner window, which mine is already open, you want to go ahead and turn off anomalies and cosmic signatures, and you want to figure out what are you scanning for. So in my case, I don't really care about structures, I don't care about deployables, I really want to just know ships and drones. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and scan here, and I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to just see ships, my D-scan. Okay, so it's going to tell me I have an Atron somewhere nearby. Perfect. So now what I would say, and this is more along using D-scan, and this is the part where I have to get better at it, is being able to look at your map and being able to scan down exactly where people are at. All right, so we don't have anything really close by here. But, so if we look at your map here, we have our, nope, if I can get it to zoom in, there we go. I'm going to center it on where I am, is you have your D-scan window. So now what you can see is I can change my angle and reduce that, and then I can say, okay, what would they possibly be at? Now in this case, I know where they're at, but I can go through the structures here, and I can start scanning the structures and say, okay, which one of these structures are all these ships at? Now in this case, I can see that the sigil is near the structure, which is, that's our Keepstar, which I'm sitting on right now. So it's obviously, I can see that. But what you can do is you can actually scan around. Now another thing that you might do is, if you're looking at anomalies, is you can actually go through, if you're within range of the anomalies, is go through and actually scan the individual anomalies to try and figure out where someone's at. So what I would say is, once you have someone on D-scan, you say, okay, I know that there's a ship here. Then what you're going to do is say, okay, what different things are within range? So if you know it's within 15, you can break it down and say, okay, what's within 10? So I can see there was something that just disappeared. What's within 10? What's within 10? What's within 5? It's in 1, right? So you can see all these different things are within these different levels. And so you can say, okay, where do I need to start scanning? And then you can start looking for things that are within that. So in my case, since I already know they're here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and launch my probes. But before I do that, I do want to get rid of my anomalies. I'm going to go ahead and move this over. So I know I'm going to scan right around here. So I can see that that's right here in this area. Now this is one of the things that I just learned recently, is that what you would want to do is as soon as you get your probes out, you launch your probes, wait for them to show up on the screen. And so see, and I'm just going to immediately tell them to go scan way over here, way out of range, because my target is in this general area and I don't want them knowing that I have combat probes out. Okay, so now, aha. So my ships, my things actually found a strategic cruiser out here. So I'm going to see, you can see here on there, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Now we'll see if I'm fast enough, I may actually be able to scan this guy down. But see, the thing is if he's doing his job right now, he just thought there were combat probes on his area and he's going to dock up. Oh, there he is. So I have a Tengu. So what I can do is I can save location. And I could actually warp to that Tengu. I'm going to retract my probe so no one will see him. So if I wanted to, I could actually warp to that Tengu right now. So I can right click here and warp at range, warp at 0, warp at 100. So I'm going to go and warp at 100. So, and he is running a complex. So right now he's running an 8 out of 10. So I'm going to actually come in at the gate that he's actually running. So this is going to be somebody within our alliance is going to be running this right now. But now you'll see as I go on here, I can see there's a Tengu on D-scan. Okay, and there's the gate. And so in this case, I was able to scan that down very easily. And I'm going to go ahead and warp back to the Keepstar and dock up. So that is one of the examples of being able to catch a ship. Now in that case, that was an accidental. I was not actually trying to scan him down. That was just simply what I wanted to do, is get my probes away from where I was. And actually, if I had done that right, let me reload this and I'll actually showcase this again. Actually, no, I'll do this on the next ship. Is you actually want to throw them way off to where no one's going to be able to catch them at all. And again, the idea being is that you can scan someone down, and then once you know roughly where they are, you can shrink your probes in really small, and then you can scan them on the first scan so that you can immediately warp in before they decide to leave. Because again, the whole thing about combat scanning really comes into your speed with that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take out the Confessor now. Undock, and I guess I'll show you my fitting on this. Again, this isn't really anything special. 4 close range pulse lasers. A warp disruptor warp scram. I also have an afterburner on there, and then I have 2 200 mm plates, an adaptive membrane, damage control, a small armor ripper, and then I have 2 Trimark armor pumps, and then a capacitor control circuit, which just allows me to run my capacitor more. So don't know if this is an awesome fit. It works for me at the moment. So, and again, this gives me a fairly decent EHP to start with if I do catch something. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to scoot all this stuff over, make sure I have all my stuff prepped and ready. Biggest thing is make sure you're ready to go before you actually start doing anything, so you don't wind up scanning something now and then not being prepared. All right, so I'm going to open my map. All right, so I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to do this again. Put my probes out, and this time I'm going to put them way over there. So you can see now my probes are going way out there where there's nothing. And so what's nice about that is no one's going to be able to tell where my probes are. So they're not going to be able to look on there and say, oh my gosh, there's probes on D-scan, I need to be careful. Okay, so we're going to scan again and see if we have anything outside of our... All right, so everything is here on the Keepstar. So we are going to warp, actually, to a planet here. And we're going to see if we can find anything else in the middle other than just that Tengu that was out there. We'll see if we can find anything else, but if we don't find anything else, we'll scan something down over. I'm going going to set myself a bookmark so we can actually scan while we're not sitting on top of the okay, perfect. Oh, no. All right, so we don't have anything there. So we're going to go ahead and go here. So again, my probes are out and ready to scan. As soon as I find something that I want to scan, I can lock down where it is. All I have to do is bring my probes over and then hit scan. And the nice thing is right now they're not on the D-scan for anyone. Okay, so I can see I've got a hauler, I've got a slasher, a confessor, and a heron. So I have all of those. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving in and seeing, okay, 10. Okay. So somewhere inside of 10, so one of those ships is moving around. All right, so then 10, but higher than 8. So you can see here, the keep star, which is where they are, is higher than that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring my angle down, and I'm going to start scanning the different things to see. Okay, if I scan there, let's see if I go to, okay. Okay, so it's all over here. So what I can do now is I know within 5, so I know that they're basically at that. So what I can do now is bring these probes in. Center my map on that, and I can drag these probes in and get them tight up on that spot that I want to probe down. So you can see that's in the center of my D-scan window. And now at the moment, my probes are still all out there. They have not come in yet. So now I'm going to shrink that down as far as I can, which again, the farthest you can shrink your probes is going to be the 0.5. So that's as far as they can go. And we're going to bring them in there, and we're going to go ahead and scan. So we're at 0.5, we're scanning right here, so we have to wait for my probes to come back in. And we'll see what we get here. So right now we have a Vexor, Navy issue, an Enyo, a Confessor, and 2 Vexor, Navy issues, an Enyo, and a Confessor. So let's see what we get. So you can see here, we got Confessor, Enyo, Vexor, Navy issue. So right, they're all sitting at 6.77, which is going to be where this keep star is. And so they're all right on there. So I've had them, I can scan them all down right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and recall my drones. And we're going to go ahead and dock up, and then we'll go ahead and grab the Tengu and see if we can actually go scan down some ships running sites in a different system that's not our staging, to give an idea. And hopefully I don't get caught. If I do get caught, then you get to watch me lose a Tengu. So it should be fun and exciting. But basically, so hopefully that gives you a general idea of how you want to get your probes off to the side. Use your D-scan as much as possible to sort out where things are, and then you can go from there. Now, the one advantage, not one, but one of the major advantages that you have when you're scanning in something like a T3 cruiser is the ability to do it while cloaked, which means that if you do it right with your probes, no one knows that you're scanning. For me, as soon as I see any type of a T3 destroyer in a system, I'm prepared and waiting for them to start combat scanning, because I know it's one of the ships that I would use if I was combat scanning. The nice thing is if you can manage to get cloaked without them knowing that you're in the system, and get your probes off to the side without them knowing that your probes are out, then you can actually keep people from knowing that you're hunting them until you're almost on top of them, which not always going to happen, but if you can manage that, is really good. All right, so let me go over my fitting here and the important things that you want. Fuel catalyst is just a propulsion that I use to give me more slots. This Tengu is not interdiction nullified. I'm not going to leave staging, and I just realized, actually no, I am going to low sec, so that's fine. Accelerated ejection bay, covert refig configuration, and then augmented graviton reactor. These are my normal ones I use when I'm doing much of anything. And again, I'm not an expert on these, but this is the one that actually matters, is the covert reconfiguration. And the reason is you get the 10% bonus to your core and combat scanner strength per level of your defensive system, which I have at 5, Shield booster effectiveness, not a big deal. Cloaking device allows you to cloak. Relic doesn't matter. Fit the covert ops cloak. And those are the big ones. So basically it's the scanning, and the other one is actually, I believe, let me just make sure, but I believe that's actually in the Tengu itself. Yep, here we go. Roll bonus of the Tengu is a 99% reduction in scan probe launcher CPU requirements. So instead of 200 I'm required for this, you're able to get that. Now you'll notice, if you remember with the Imicus, I was at 45. With the Confessor, I was at 35. With the Tengu, I'm at 54. So you can see there's a major jump in the scan probe strength that I have here, and I don't have anything other than this is core scanner and the probes. I don't have a scanning thing here. I don't have a scanning thing here. It's just based on my skills in the ship. So this is a really cheap fit Tengu, 450 million. I have no idea if this is actually a good fit, but I have a warp disruptor and a warp scrambler, 2 adaptive invulns. This I would do with a Pith X type large. I just don't have one right now, so I just threw a large one on there because I'm not planning to actually take this into combat. And then I also have this fit with an afterburner. Heavy assault missiles, because again, if you're doing tackle, you want to be up close to something already, so you want as much damage as you can. These are for a little bit more range and a little bit bigger damage to smaller ships. And then EM to give me a better resist, which once everything is all said and done, I have a pretty even resist profile, no major gaps. And so basically this is my ship setup. Whether this is good or not, I don't know. This is just something that I threw together that would be able to do the work of a combat scanning thing. So we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to join standing fleet just to see if there's anyone roaming around, because if there's actually an enemy fleet, then we can try and chase them down if we can. And I'm going to grab something. I do want to have this subsystem on me in case I need it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and undock. So you can see right now somebody has core scanner probes out, and they're probably trying to probe down this Enyo, would be my guess. So you can see he is, looks, I don't know if he's burning out or not, but part of the problem is right now is their probes are out, so he knows that they have probes out, so that makes him somewhat less likely to get caught if he is smart. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually see if we can catch this guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our map. We're going to switch this around to make this a little easier. We're going to warp to my spot here. We're going to throw out my probes.
Warp drive active.
Get them. We're going to cloak. And so now with me cloaked, that means that he's not going to be able to see where I'm at. And we'll actually see if we can warp right on top of him. Okay, so now we know for the moment he's somewhere around here. We're going to go ahead and descan to find him. Even though we know where he's at, we're going to go ahead and descan. Make sure he's still around. Alright. Enyo, so that's the one we're looking for right there. Okay. Shoot down our... Well, actually, let's figure out how far away he is. So 14, 10. So he's between 10 and 5. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bring angle down. Scan over here. There he is. We can see him on that. So you can see here. I'm going to bring these probes in again nice and tight. And let's see what we get with that. We're going to pre-type, because if we do manage to get tackle on him. Okay, so now let's see. Aha, so I don't see him anymore. So we're going to scan again. He left. And so what you can see here is he's not there anymore. So he was, but he left, so he's not there. So let's see if he's anywhere else. Or if he decided to bail out. So it looks like he bailed out. Now another thing to do is if you're trying to scan down a specific ship, is you can actually ignore the other results. So you can right click, let's say I only wanted to scan this Atron. I can say ignore other results. And what that'll do is that will clear everything else and I can only see that one, because in some places things will get really crazy when you start scanning. Now in this case, we're gonna undo that. We're gonna head over towards our low set gate and take a look over there and see what we have.
Warp drive active.
So and again, this is the nice thing about doing a T3C if you're trying to combat scan, is just the ability to be cloaked while you're doing your scanning so that they can't see where you are. Now again, I want to be smart. I want to move my probes out here so they can't be seen. Okay, so I have an Osprey Navy issue, a MOA, a Stabber, and a Ferox. And so it's probably our guys camping the gate, but we're going to find out. Yes, so we are camping the gate. And so you can see there's our ship, so that's us camping the gate. So let's go look elsewhere. We're going to warp over to this other gate that tends to get camped. So, and this is part of it, is if you're in the middle of a fleet action, this will be a lot. You'll know exactly what you're trying to scan down. In my case, I'm actually trying to find ships to scan down, so that does make it a little bit more difficult. Versus if you actually have a fleet going and you're out combat scanning, there's usually a specific thing you're trying to find. And so you can just scan for that. Alright, so let's see. Okay, he's sitting on our... Fortizar. And that's our Ferox, okay. But we do have an Osprey. Let's see if it's the same one from before. So we're going to stick range, 10. 5. 1. So the Osprey Navy issue is nearby within 1 kilometer, but not here. Oh, here he comes. Okay. And he's coming into land. But that is actually a neutral. So we'll see what he's going to do. Okay, he's jumping the gate.
Warp drive active.
Ooh, we have a Stratios and a Stero. We may actually try to see if we can find that Stratios and a Stero, but let's see. Okay, so we have a Cormorant, a Vexor Navy issue, and an Astero over here. So let's see if we can figure out where they are. So they're within 14, they're within 10, they're within 5. Okay, between 5 and 1. So I can look here and see, okay, structures, those are all outside of that range. So next what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go here, I'm going to unfilter my anomalies and see are there any anomalies or signatures that are within that range. Let's go by distance. So we have two. We have a Forlorn hub and a Forsaken hub. So let's scan both of those. Okay, so I've got a pretty good guess that this Vexor Navy issue is at this hub here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our drones. And we're going to scan right here because we're making an assumption that he's in this spot right here. But it's a pretty good guess, again, based on what his ship is doing. It's a Vexor Navy issue, that's a routing ship. So most likely he is sitting here routing. So we're going to go ahead and scan him down. And here's the other thing you want to do, and I forgot about this, is as soon as you've scanned, get your probes gone. All right, so look at this. Wasps, so there's drones. So let's get rid of our anomalies. Ooh, aha, this is a good reason not to do that. I apologize. I forgot about this. If you scan again, it removes, it doesn't keep your signatures like you would normally have. They get removed. So in this case, I just scanned that down and then I didn't save the warp in. So if you're gonna get your probes gone, make sure to save. So I'm wondering if this Cormorant is helping or jumping on this guy. So we're gonna find out and we'll go help if need be. Okay, so we're gonna save his location. Okay, now I can get my probes gone. So we're going to warp within 100, because if this is one of our alliance mates, we don't want to freak him out. Yep, so he's in the Forlorn hub, which is exactly where I thought he would be. The other thing about warping at range is hopefully we shouldn't get caught. We shouldn't get caught. We also shouldn't run into the rats or have issues with that. So, but we will see. Okay, yep, I can see his. Yes, and they are working together. So these are both of our guys. So he's fine. You can see that they're routing together. So we are going to warp out so that we don't take any of their ticks. But hopefully that explains a little bit to you guys about how the combat scanning works. Please feel free to let me know any questions you have or trying to figure this out if it makes more sense. Like I said, I'm not an expert at this. Really, one of your biggest keys to being good at combat scanning is being good at descanning and being able to scan down and get a rough idea of which general vicinity the ships are in, and then from there going on and being able to then take your probes and start scanning down and getting them. So hopefully, actually let's see if we can figure out where this Astero is. That's actually a really good idea. Okay, so this will be a good example of the descan portion. Okay. I'm just going to start scanning around. So another way to scan is by, you can see how I'm moving my mouse around and it's turning that wheel. Based on where your camera is pointing, will help determine where you're scanning. Oh, we've got... Okay, so he's here somewhere. Let's make sure again. He's within 5. Let's try 180. Okay, so he's somewhere over there. Okay, let's try moving it down to 90. Nope. Okay, we still have him. Still have him. Still have him. Let's go to 90. Okay. So I know somewhere in that cone there is where that Astero is. So I need to reload my core probes. I brought my probes in. Okay, again, I'm gonna set. Oh, okay. So he cloaked up or left. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think I just moved where I was scanning. So you can see I'm narrowing that cone down. Okay. So I know he's somewhere within that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my probes in. Now in this case, I'm not going to go to 0.5 because I don't know exactly where in this cone he is. Now, I can... Okay, so I know he's within 5. So that does allow me to shrink this down a little bit. So I could probably go within 2 AU. Now I can look to see, are there any celestials in that range, and there's really not anything. So we're just going to go ahead and scan. And again, we still see that the Astero is right there. Now it's named, so we're going to look and see. I'm assuming that's one of my guys, but it's not. That is a neutral Astero. So I can see now I have walked in a little bit closer. Okay, so I almost have him locked in. At this point, I'm going to shrink it down again and bring it in. So I should be able to get it now. at 0.5, I shouldn't have to drop it down again.
Warp drive
We're going to bring my probes in. So you can see he's sitting right here on a mobile depot. So we are going to take a chance and see if we can get him. Now the hard part is that this ship is not designed to take on small ships. So he does have his drones out, but at the moment I'm looking to see if he's going to be bringing in help. But at the moment it doesn't look like it, and I've yet to run across a whole tank to Astero. So it looks like at this point we are going to get him. Again, we're keeping our eyes open on D-scan to see if there's something that we're not expecting that's going to be coming in. And we did, we went and we got him. And we're going to go ahead and get the pod. And we are going to go ahead and shoot this. And we'll see what he was carrying. So that is a perfect example of what you can do with getting your combat probing, is you can probe something down that you might or might not normally be able to get, and sometimes that can mean a kill. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the video there.